At 72, I stopped telling people how much money I have, and my life became quieter, not richer, not easier in every way, just quieter. Because once people know what you have, some of them stop seeing you the same way. They may still smile. They may still call you family. They may still speak sweetly when they need to. But something changes. Your money begins to sit in the room before you do. I wish I had understood this earlier. When I was younger, I thought being open was harmless. If someone asked how I was managing, I answered. If family wondered whether I had savings, I told them enough to reassure them. If someone asked what I received each month, I did not always hide it. I thought, these are my people. Why should I be secretive? But old age teaches you quietly. It teaches you that privacy is not bitterness. It is protection. It teaches you that not every question deserves a full answer. It teaches you that your money, no matter how much or how little, is tied to your independence, your dignity, your sleep, your choices, and your ability to survive without begging. And after 72, I finally understood that the less people know about my money, the less they try to shape my life around it. Money in old age is different. When you are young, money is often about building, buying, raising children, chasing comfort, paying bills, trying to get ahead. When you are older, money becomes something more serious. It becomes the wall between you and helplessness. It becomes the difference between choosing your own care and depending on someone's mood. It becomes the ability to fix a roof, pay for medicine, buy food, keep transportation, maintain your home, and handle emergencies without waiting for someone to rescue you. So when people casually ask, how much do you have saved? Or what do you get every month? Or who are you leaving the house to? They may think they are asking a simple question, but it is not simple. Those questions reach into your safety. The first thing I learned is that once people know what you have, they may start deciding what you should do with it. At first, it may sound innocent. You do not need all that at your age. You should help while you are still here. Why keep money sitting there? You cannot take it with you. Those words may sound practical, but they can carry pressure. They can make an older person feel selfish for wanting security. They can make you feel guilty for saving instead of giving. They can make you question your own needs. This is where many of us make the mistake. We start explaining. We say, I need it for emergencies. We say, I do not know what my health will be like. We say, the house may need repairs. We say, I am trying not to be a burden. And the more we explain, the more people argue. Because people who feel entitled to your money are rarely satisfied by your reasons. They do not want your explanation. They want your agreement. I learned that a short answer protects more peace than a long defense. I am managing. I prefer not to discuss money. I have things arranged. That is private. Those words may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you were raised to answer every question, to be polite, to explain yourself, to keep family happy. But age teaches you that politeness, without boundaries, can become a doorway to trouble. Your money does not need to be a family discussion every time someone is curious. The second thing I learned is that some people confuse your savings with their emergency plan. This one is painful because it often involves people you love. You may have saved slowly. You may have worked hard. You may have gone without certain things. You may have worn old clothes, skipped vacations, cooked at home, saved coins, stretched paychecks, and carried responsibilities nobody saw. Then later in life, someone hears you have something put away, and suddenly your sacrifice becomes their solution. They have a problem, and your money looks like the answer. A grown child falls behind. A relative makes a poor choice. Someone has debt. Someone wants a new start. Someone needs help again and again and again. And because you are older, They may think you should not hold too tightly to what you have. They may not say it directly, but you can feel it in the way they ask. They do not ask as if they are borrowing from your safety. They ask as if they are collecting from family. But if you remember nothing else, remember this. Your savings are not proof that others can stop being responsible. Yes, help if you truly can. Give if your heart is clear and your own life is secure. There is beauty in generosity when it comes from peace. But do not let anyone turn your careful living into their permission to be careless. At 72, I learned that money given under guilt does not feel like kindness afterward. It feels like a slow wound. You may give to keep the peace, but later your heart becomes restless. You may help because you are afraid of being judged, but later you sit alone wondering whether you betrayed yourself. You may say yes because you love them, but later you realize they loved your yes more than they loved your well-being. That kind of giving becomes heavy. A good heart still needs a locked gate. The third thing I learned is that revealing money can change family relationships before you are ready. Money has a strange way of waking up old emotions. Jealousy, expectation, competition, suspicion, entitlement, old childhood wounds, old sibling comparisons, old ideas about who deserves more, who was loved more, who suffered more, who helped more, who stayed close, who left, who should be rewarded. You may think you are having a simple conversation about savings, property, insurance, bills, or inheritance. But beneath that conversation, old feelings may be moving. One person may feel overlooked, another may feel owed, another may think closeness should be paid back. Another may think their hardship gives them a stronger claim. Another may begin acting kinder, but not from love. And another may pull away because they think you do not trust them. Money does not create every problem, but it reveals many problems that were already waiting. I did not understand this until I was much older. I thought if I was honest, people would be fair. I thought if I explained my intentions, everyone would understand. I thought if I shared enough, there would be less confusion. Sometimes the opposite happens. The more people know, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more they expect. The more they expect, the more disappointed they become when life does not match the story they created in their own mind. That is why I stopped speaking loosely about money. Important matters should be handled clearly, carefully, and in the right way. Proper documents, trusted people, and professional guidance when necessary can prevent confusion. But casual conversations can create promises you never meant to make. A sentence said at the kitchen table can become a memory someone treats like a contract. I thought you said I would get that. You told me years ago you would help. You promised this would be mine. Maybe you did say something close to it. Maybe you were only thinking aloud. Maybe you were trying to comfort someone. Maybe you were avoiding an argument. But money words have long shadows. So now I speak carefully. I do not make emotional promises. I do not discuss numbers casually. I do not let people pressure me into revealing decisions before they are settled. I do not allow curiosity to drag private matters into public conversation. Peace is easier when expectations are not fed too early. The fourth thing I learned is that some people measure love by what you give them. This is one of the saddest lessons of old age. There are people who will treat your boundary as rejection. You say, "I cannot help with that," and they hear, "I do not love you." You say, "I need to keep my money for my own needs," and they hear, "You are selfish." You say, "I do not want to discuss my finances," and they hear, "You do not trust us." But love and money are not the same thing. I wish more families understood that. You can love someone and still say no. You can care deeply and still protect your savings. You can be generous in spirit and still refuse a request that would harm your stability. You can leave kindness behind without handing out your security every time someone asks. When people measure your love by your money, you must be careful, because no amount may ever be enough. Give once, they remember you can give. Give twice, they begin expecting. Give often, they may stop saying thank you. And when you finally stop, they may act as if you have become cruel, even though your only mistake was allowing too much for too long. But the hardest lesson came later. I realized that some people were warmest when they wanted something. They called more. They visited more. They praised me more. They spoke gently. They reminded me of memories. They made me feel loved. And then slowly, the request would come. Not always directly, sometimes with hints. I do not know what I am going to do. Everything is so expensive. I hate asking, but you are the only one I can turn to. Those words can open an older heart, because we want to be needed. We want to matter. We want to believe our presence still makes a difference. But being needed is not the same as being valued. A person who values you will still respect you when you cannot give. Watch that carefully. If someone becomes cold when your money is unavailable, they were not reaching for your heart. They were reaching for your hand. The fifth thing I learned is that talking about money can disturb your peace even when nobody takes anything. Sometimes the damage is not a lost dollar. Sometimes the damage is the anxiety that follows. After you tell someone too much, your mind begins to work. Why did I say that? Will they tell someone else? Will they ask me for help? Will they treat me differently? Will they expect something? Will they be angry if I do not give? And suddenly, a conversation that lasted 10 minutes costs you 3 nights of peace. At this age, peace is not something to waste. Peace becomes more valuable when your energy becomes limited. You cannot keep handing your mind to people who ask careless questions. You cannot keep losing sleep because you felt pressured to share private details. You cannot keep carrying the emotional weight of other people's expectations. I have learned to protect myself before the anxiety begins. When someone asks a money question that feels too personal, I do not answer just to avoid awkwardness. I let the awkwardness sit. This was difficult at first. Many of us were taught to fill silence. Someone asks something and we rush to respond. We feel rude if we pause. We feel guilty if we protect ourselves. We feel we must keep the conversation comfortable for everyone else, even if it makes us uncomfortable inside. But silence can be a form of dignity. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to say, "Why do you ask?" You are allowed to say, "That is not something I discuss." You are allowed to change the subject. You are allowed to protect your peace without making a speech. The older I get, the less I explain myself to people who only hear what they want. That has saved me more than once. The sixth thing I learned is that your money story belongs to you. Everyone has a money story. Some people had plenty and wasted it. Some had little and stretched it. Some worked hard and saved quietly. Some lost everything and rebuilt. Some raised children alone. Some cared for sick spouses. Some carried debts they never spoke about. Some went without so others could have. By the time you reach your 70s, your money is not just numbers. It carries your labor, your fear, your discipline, your mistakes, your sacrifices, and your survival. That is why it hurts when people speak about your money as if it appeared from nowhere. They do not remember the overtime. They do not remember the years you wore the same coat. They do not remember the bills you paid quietly. They do not remember the nights you worried at the table after everyone else had gone to sleep. They do not remember what you gave up so the family could continue. They only see what is left and begin imagining what can be done with it. That can make an older person feel unseen. And sometimes, in the need to be understood, we explain too much. We start telling the whole story. We bring out the wounds. We tell them what we suffered, what we paid, what we saved, what we lost. But not everyone deserves the full story. Some will not understand. Some will not care. Some will listen only long enough to find a weakness. Some will say, "That was years ago," as if old sacrifices should not still matter. So I have learned to honor my own story without handing it to everyone. I know what it cost me to have what I have. I know the discipline it required. I know the mistakes I survived. I know the private fears I carried. I do not need everyone to agree with the value of my protection. Your money story belongs to you. Do not let people who did not carry the burden decide how lightly you should hold the result. The seventh thing I learned is that privacy protects relationships too. Some people think privacy creates distance. Sometimes it does. But often, privacy prevents damage. When people know too much about your money, relationships can become strained. A simple visit may carry hidden expectation. A kind gesture may be questioned. A family meal may become tense. A conversation may turn into comparison. People may wonder who gets what, who knows what, who helped whom, who deserves more. But when financial details are kept private and handled responsibly, relationships have more room to breathe. People can visit you without calculating. You can enjoy them without wondering what they want. You can help when you choose without creating a public pattern. You can make decisions calmly without everyone placing their desires on your table. Privacy does not always push people away. Sometimes it keeps money from sitting between you, and that is important. I do not want every family conversation to become a hidden negotiation. I do not want to wonder if affection is real. I do not want my home filled with people acting kind because they are hoping for a piece of something later. I want simple love, a phone call with no request, a visit with no pressure, a conversation where nobody asks what I have, what I owe, what I spend, what I receive, or what they might one day get. There is beauty in being loved without being counted. And if someone cannot love you without knowing your numbers, that tells you something. The eighth thing I learned is that keeping money private does not mean being unprepared. This is important. Privacy should not become carelessness. Some older people avoid money conversations so completely that they leave confusion behind. They hide everything, organize nothing, tell no one where anything is, and when a serious moment comes, the family is left in chaos. That is not wisdom either. There is a balanced way. You do not need to tell everyone everything, but the right information should be organized. Important papers should be kept where they can be found by the right trusted person. Serious decisions should be made clearly. If professional advice is needed, seek it from qualified people. If someone must know how to handle certain matters in an emergency, choose carefully and communicate responsibly. That is different from gossiping about your money. That is preparation. Privacy and preparation can live together. One protects your peace now, the other protects order later. I have learned not to confuse the two. I do not discuss my money casually, but I also do not pretend it does not exist. I do not answer every curious question, but I make sure important matters are not left in confusion. I do not give everyone access, but I do believe the right person should know what they need to know when the time comes. Wisdom is not hiding in fear. Wisdom is choosing the right door, the right key, and the right hands. At 72, I stopped telling people how much money I have because I finally understood that money talk changes things. It changes how people ask. It changes how people visit. It changes what they expect. It changes how they hear your no. It changes how they view your choices. It can even change how you feel in your own home. And my home at this age must be a place of peace. I do not have endless years to spend defending my decisions. I do not have endless energy for arguments about what I should give, spend, save, sell, lend, or leave behind. I do not want my remaining years crowded with people who see my money more clearly than they see my heart. I still believe in generosity. I still believe in helping family when it is right and possible. I still believe in kindness. But I no longer believe that kindness requires exposure. I no longer believe love means answering every question. I no longer believe family has the right to inspect every private corner of my life. Some things are better handled quietly. My money is one of them. My peace is another. If you are over 60, over 70, or simply old enough to understand what life can take from a person, hear me gently. You are not selfish for protecting your independence. You are not rude for keeping your finances private. You are not unloving because you do not reveal every detail. You are not cruel because you say no to a request that would weaken your own safety. You are not obligated to turn your later years into a rescue fund for people who do not respect your limits. You can love people and still have boundaries. You can help people and still keep your numbers private. You can prepare responsibly without making your finances a family discussion. You can be generous without becoming available for every emergency someone creates. And you can say, I prefer not to discuss that, without explaining yourself for the next 30 minutes. Old age gives us many lessons, but this one came to me slowly. Not everyone who asks deserves to know. Some questions are curiosity. Some questions are concern. Some questions are control. Some questions are preparation for a future request. Learn the difference. Pay attention to how people respond when you keep something private. Do they respect you, or do they push harder? Do they accept your answer, or do they try to make you feel guilty? Do they still treat you warmly when you do not reveal what they want to know? A person's reaction to your boundary often tells you why the boundary was needed. I wish I had known that years ago. I would have spoken less. I would have explained less. I would have protected my peace sooner. But regret is not useless if it becomes wisdom. So now I keep my money quiet. I keep my decisions thoughtful. I keep my heart open, but not exposed. I keep my home peaceful. I keep my giving private. I keep my boundaries firm, and I sleep better. Not because life is perfect, but because fewer people are walking around with information they did not need. A quiet life is not an empty life. Sometimes it is the strongest life you can choose. If this message speaks to you, share your age in the comments. Tell me whether you believe money should stay private after 60 or 70, even from family. You may find that many others have learned the same quiet truth. And if nobody has reminded you lately, let me remind you now. Your money is not just money. It is your independence, your dignity, your safety, and your peace. Protect it with wisdom. Share only what is necessary, and never let guilt make you expose what keeps you standing.